This is Old Line Farmer Radio, a Maryland Farm Bureau production, helping you achieve your best farm future.
Welcome back to Old Line Farmer Radio. I have a very special guest with me today. This is State Senator Jason Gallion, and he is actually the only Maryland senator that is a farmer. So we are so happy to have you on, Senator Gallion.
Great to be here. Thank you. This is my first time on a podcast, so this is exciting. Glad to be with you.
And what better way than Old Line Farmer Radio to
That's right.
be your first podcast. So, Senator Gallion, we definitely want to talk about your work in Annapolis, but we wanted to have you on because of your unique experience as both a farmer and legislator. So before we get into anything that you're doing here, just tell us what you're doing on your farm there in Harford County.
Sure. So I have about a 50 cow beef cow herd, mostly black Angus. We have a few red Angus, a couple Charolais, but I do a cow-calf operation and sell those calves as feeders when I wean them off their mothers to another local farmer who finishes those out and sells from his on-farm store. I also do some hay sales and some grain, not a lot, but some corn, soybeans. So diversified there a little bit.
So being a cow-calf operation, obviously you got your cows weaning, you got births going on all the time. What does a day in the life look like? I know that especially for some of your grains, that'll be later into the spring, but how do you do that in the mornings and then make it down to Annapolis for votes? Just tell me what a day in the life of Senator Gallion looks like.
Sure. So, the General Assembly session was set up in the winter. Originally, it was a mostly agrarian society. So, farmers could come down here, serve, then get back home in the spring in time to plant. With my operation, I do I base my breeding schedule on that. I wait and have it so the spring calves are calving in April. Once we get out of session, and then I have another group that calves in the fall. So I kind of have it split up. So where some farmers would probably rather have them, calves being born maybe February, March, I kind of just hold off for a couple months just so that way, I don't have to worry about all the deliveries and the beef cows. Honestly, it's not that much. I mean, knock on wood, we don't have to deliver many of those. I used to dairy farm, and there was a good bit more deliveries that you had to assist with. But with the beef cows, they normally have them pretty easily. But still, keep a close eye on them. Yeah,
gotcha. So I know that you also have, prior to coming to the legislature, you even have past leadership experience with some organizations, even the Harford County Farm Bureau, right. I might mention. So what just kind of inspired you to run, and did that have anything to do with your background in agriculture?
Sure, it definitely had a lot to do with agriculture, but a predecessor of mine in the state senate, Barry Glassman, I helped in his campaign when I was 13 years old when he ran for county council the first time. Wow. So I kind of maybe caught the political bug there. Yeah. And then as far as the community service aspect, I joined the volunteer fire company there where I live, Level Volunteer Fire Company, at the age of 16, and really enjoyed giving back and serving in that capacity. I spent 6 years as the chief of the fire department. I think at the time I was the youngest chief in all of Harford County at the time, and then did also after that 3 years as the president. So that, I feel like this is a continuation of that service. I enjoy helping people and being involved in the community, and this was a kind of a natural progression for me. You kind of marry the community service aspect and then the political interest, came together nicely, and had the opportunity to run for the state senate in 2018. And this is my 8th session. It's hard. It seems like time is really flying by. So it's nice to be able to bring that perspective to the legislature. It's a citizen legislature where you should have folks from all different walks of life that kind of come together and make these decisions for the whole state. So it's important to have agriculture represented and a seat at the table. So I feel like that's, I serve on the committee. I'm the ranking Republican on the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee that deals with ag issues. So it's been a good fit. It's been a really good fit.
Yeah, well, that's awesome to hear about your background. And I've been to that the new fire station there in Level. Yep. A lot of upgrades. It's a nice facility.
Oh yeah, it's a nice spot there. It's center center of that community, and for folks who don't know where Level is, you think of, it's kind of between Churchville, Darlington, Havre de Grace, Bel Air, and Aberdeen, kind of in the center of those areas. So like the Churchville area would be part of, Level does not have a zip code, doesn't have a post office, but it is a tight-knit community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I got a bunch of family that's up in Darlington and even into Cecil County. So I guess obviously you have this huge agricultural constituency, but like what are some other industries that you're, particularly interested in as it pertains to your district? Like what do your constituents want from you here in Annapolis?
Sure. So, I mentioned the fire service. That's another kind of a part of my background I think I bring to the table. But, most of the folks in the district, I think it's statewide, people are mainly, they want you down here fighting for them, and they're you're dealing with the same issues that your constituents are, whether it be right now high energy prices, the price of grocery, just everything that you're dealing with in this day and age. I feel like it's good to have folks representing you that can really relate to you. And so, I mean, my constituents have just a lot of the same issues that they have all over the state. It is it is a pretty rural area. I have a kind of northeastern Harford and North Cecil, but it's there's a lot of different employers there, a lot of different small businesses that are just wanting some relief down here so they can just do what they love to do. So as a small business owner, as you know, farm is a business,
right.
An ag business, try to do my best to help with some of the issues that our businesses are dealing with. We're not always successful when we try to roll back some things,
right.
but we keep fighting the fight, and we want this to be a business-friendly state, but we have a long ways to go. But we're going to keep fighting the fight.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that because farms are small businesses, right. And everything with the tax code and regulation, that all affects us. So just kind of going off of that, what are your priorities this legislative session, especially for farmers? Maryland Farm Bureau, we're really focusing on ag funding, different state programs. Obviously, we're in another budget deficit, so we need to balance that budget somehow, but we don't want to see ag take the fall for that, and also a lot of things around energy siting and just expanding business opportunities. So I'm just kind of curious if you could just tell us a little bit about what you're working on and what the farmers are telling you.
Sure. So one concern that was brought up last year in the budget that was passed last year is $100 million over 4 years being taken away from Project Open Space and Maryland Ag Land Preservation, or MALF, funding. I keep bringing up that concern that if you take this away, it should be paid back. Like if money was taken out of Transportation Trust Fund, it'll end up back. It should be the same with this because it's out of a dedicated fund to transfer tax. And it's very concerning to me that a dedicated funding source like that is being rated to just go to the general budget. That's not the way things are supposed to work. We honestly have kind of a spending problem in this state, and it's not fair to have that on the backs of agriculture. And that ties in kind of with, you mentioned the solar siting issue. So last year we had 3 energy bills that moved. And one of which was a solar siting bill. As you know, a lot of farmers from the Eastern Shore came down and testified in that joint hearing. And priority preservation areas, I know a lot of listeners on this will be familiar with that. But the bill, was allow for 5% in priority preservation areas to go towards solar. And we tried last year to amend that down to 2%, and we were not successful. I tried in committee, and also we tried on the floor. And there's percentages I know can get kind of confusing, but just to break it down to acres, we hear from the Maryland Energy Administration they need 20 to 30,000 acres to reach the state's solar goals. 5% would be like 140-some thousand acres. Right. So the 2% would be like 40, roughly 40,000 acres. We felt like that was a kind of a good compromise, and there were a couple good items in that bill. I mean, they set up some guardrails as far as like fencing and trees around the sites and different things like that. But that 5% number to me was just way too high. And So we tried the amendments. The amendments didn't go through. I know there's a couple bills out there this year that would basically be that amendment in a piece of legislation, which I'd be very supportive of.
Yeah.
But I thought it was important to try maybe another option, kind of to try to massage this a little bit, so maybe everybody could get on board. And that bill is one that we'll be having a hearing on here before long that I've introduced, and it allows for kind of a trade. And to explain it, if you're in a county and you want to do solar on, say, warehouse rooftops, or at a trash disposal center, or different brownfields, you could take that and trade and knock that 5% number down. So it's based off the energy that would be produced by that solar establishment, wherever it may be. So to me, it's still allowing the state to reach their solar goals, whether you like them or not. I'm not, quite frankly, not the biggest fan of them, but the law is what it is, and the goals are what they are. So I'm trying to work around that. So this would allow us to knock that 5% down in a county that decides to prioritize putting solar on less desirable spaces, and that would free up farm ground. The biggest pushback I get on that is, well, shouldn't farmers or ag land owners be able to do whatever they want with their farm ground? And the answer to that is, counties have local zoning laws. If I have a 100-acre farm and I want to put like a strip mall in there and all kinds of stuff, I can't do that because it's not zoned that way.
Right.
And it should be the same with solar. There should be local control over local zoning decisions. So this is a way to kind of deal with that. That's my answer to that criticism that we hear a little bit about. Well, why, it's their farm. Why shouldn't they be able to do what they want?
Yeah.
It does fall under local. It should fall under local zoning. And counties have master plans. They have different development envelopes or areas and so forth. So that should all should be respected, I think. So I think this bill would really be a way to keep those solar goals that they want, but take some pressure off the prime productive farmland. And in my operation, I rent a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And I know there's farmers all over the state that rent a lot of ground and don't necessarily own all their ground. And when they're competing against solar developers, it's going to make it virtually impossible for a lot of farmers to compete. And we're supposed to be producing food and fiber. And there's also, some questions we've heard with, they say, well, after 30 years, you can have solar panels in there on a big scale, and then they could be removed. And
we haven't seen that.
No, we don't have any examples of that yet. So that's very problematic. The amount of remediation it would take, I don't buy that argument. So this would be a way to free up and give another alternative to put solar in less desirable areas, and to free up some of our prime productive farm ground.
Yeah, I know if you spend a lot of time with farmers, you'll find that they'll have a knack for self-deprecation.
Right.
And so sometimes we make that joke. It's unfortunate that farming is like the least profitable thing that you can do with your land, but it is perhaps one of the most important things for your community. So yes, we're facing pressure from the solar developers, but we need that farmland, and that's specifically what those priority preservation acres were designed for. So that's why we don't want to see solar developers taking that land. So I do think that that's a really common sense way to reach that balance.
And we've gotten a great response on that. We put it out on social media a week or so ago, and the response has been overwhelming. People seem very supportive. So when that bill hearing comes up, I think we'll have a very good hearing and with a lot of support there.
Yeah, absolutely. And farmers like to avoid politics, but we're in Annapolis. This is the hub for it. And so I'm just kind of curious. You've been a very successful legislature, and you're in the minority party. So how do you get things done? How can
being in the minority party, the numbers are what they are. You have to be able to build relationships, and I have a good rapport with my friends across the aisle. We don't agree on policy all the time, but there's a mutual, I think, respect there, and Yeah, my committee Chair Feldman, has been very reasonable to work with. Great relationship with him. And I think, my fellow committee members say, hey, that guy, he has a background in agriculture.
Right.
So I think they'll kind of listen a little bit. Annapolis is different than Washington, D.C. When I first came down here in 2019, I was pleasantly surprised at how cordial people were and welcoming. You disagree on issues, but coming to Annapolis, I was pleasantly surprised. It's not like what you think. It wasn't what I thought it would be. Like when you see on the news what things look like in Washington, D.C.
Right.
How, it just seems like they all hate each other and people don't get along. It's not the case here. You have your policy disagreements, but at the end of the day, it's been cordial and respectful, even on debates on the floor. There's a decorum. You can't use another senator's name in a debate. So if someone was debating me, they couldn't say, Senator Gallion, that's a horrible idea, and they'd have to address me as a senator from the 35th district or the senator from Harford and Cecil, something like that, but they couldn't actually use my name. So there's different kind of procedural decorum things that I think kind of help. But the other thing is, in the Senate, on the Senate side, I never served in the House, but in the Senate, there's only 47 senators.
Yeah.
And most of the work's done in committee. So 3 of the committees have 11 members, and one budget and tax has 13. So I'm on one of the committees with only 11 members.
Yeah.
You spend so much time in that room with those other 10 people, you really get to know those people and build relationships there. So I think that helps a lot too when you're in that small of a group for that many hours for 3 months out of the year.
And we've had Secretary Kevin Addix on, and he also pushes this point that the farmers need to get out and tell their stories. And to your point, the media will have us thinking that we have a bunch of politicians in a smoke-filled room that are like, how can we make farmers' lives worse today? That doesn't actually happen. But if they have a bill that's against farming or a particular practice or whatever it may be, it's probably because they haven't heard from the farmers, and so that's why it's so helpful to have someone like you. And I know we now have Delegate Anderson, Delegate Ziegler in the House that also do have agriculture backgrounds, but it's helpful to have that farmer in the room. Going off of that, you're taking those constituent calls. You're hearing from different groups. How can farmers make their voices heard, and to make sure that we're not being walked over in Annapolis, and we can actually get legislation passed? How can farmers do that? Sure.
So it's great partnering with Farm Bureau. I think a lot of legislators, they look to what Farm Bureau says, and it's very important to have that voice of agriculture. So I would encourage people, if you haven't joined, to be a member of Farm Bureau, which I am and have been for many years, and to let your voice be known. With the different publications of the Farm Bureau, you're pretty good with, through email and through social media getting out the message, but I would follow stuff on social media too. And then if it's a bill that you feel really passionate about, come down here and testify or submit written testimony. If you're not able to make it down here, there are some virtual options for testimony, but putting in written testimony is another great avenue, because honestly, that everything's on your laptop, and you can pull. So if you pull up the information on that bill, and then you can look at what my first year or two was an actual bill folder with papers in it. Now everything's on a computer. You can pull that up and see how many people or who all has come in favor or opposition to a bill. So that's a really good tool that you can get that testimony in and let your voice be heard. But it's great to work with Farm Bureau, grain producers, different groups that they really help the legislators, because it's a resource that I know I really depend a lot on. It's been a great relationship for these 8 years down here with Farm Bureau, and just let your voice be heard. I would encourage people to join Farm Bureau. I was a board member there many years ago, and active with Farm Bureau.
So you had mentioned when you're in committee, you have, you used to get the bill folder, now you're on your laptop. So it's kind of funny, when I sit at these committee hearings, everybody's out on their laptops. You guys are actually looking at testimony and like reading the bills. You're not like playing games or on YouTube.
It should be. So normally I kind of have what I do, I'll normally look at the fiscal note first.
Okay, right.
It gives you a synopsis, and then you can see what it's actually going to cost. And then I'll go to the bill folder and kind of look through as you're also kind of listening. Sometimes I'll listen to I listen to all of it, but I also want to be able to read, see who all's put in testimony, and then you can see a lot of it's repetitive too, because you might have somebody that puts in testimony and says almost the exact same thing when they're testifying, if they do oral testimony and written. But then you have some people that just do oral. That's why the legislators are looking at that, because they're probably reading through there, and also you might have an email pop up or something that you need to check. The other thing in committees, if you're there, don't get discouraged if you see a member that like just has to get up and walk out or something, because there's 4 standing committees in the Senate, and as I mentioned in my committee, there's 11 of us, but we have bills to talk about in other committees that we have to introduce our own bill in a different committee. We have to get up and go to that committee to present a bill. Right. So sometimes that happens if you see a couple empty seats there. That's why. So
Senator Gallion, I know you got a very busy schedule. We're about to wrap up, but I just want to ask a couple fun rapid fire questions. Don't think too hard. Just have fun. Senator Gallion's last meal on Earth, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Maybe a good, like a bacon cheeseburger or something like that, maybe.
Beef is what I'm hearing.
That's right. That's
right. What's your favorite restaurant in your district?
Favorite restaurant in the district? Oh my goodness, there are a lot of them. But let me go with something a little different. There's 2 ice cream stores.
Oh,
there.
right.
Keith's Creamery.
Yeah.
And then actually, bordering my district is Broom's Bloom.
Yeah.
So I have 2 great ice cream stores there, and I have 4 daughters that are 12 and under, and between we really like our local ice cream. So
frequent flyers there.
That's right.
Yeah, and made on farm. Yeah.
That's right.
That's awesome. The Maryland legislature, they they got some problems. What could the legislature learn from farming as a business?
I tell you what they could learn from our farmers is they could learn how to live within their means. Be really responsible with their money, because farming's not an easy business, and our farmers are great business people that know how to make ends meet. They're smart with their money. It's not easy when you're dealing with the weather and markets and everything else. So the state of Maryland, I think, will learn a lot just from a budgeting standpoint from our farmers.
Senator Gallion, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in Annapolis and giving farmers a voice here in the legislature. If folks want to get in touch with you, want to reach out to your office, how can they do that?
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity. It's great to speak with you today. And, I would encourage people to follow our Senator Jason Gallion page on Facebook. We're also on X or Twitter. And if you need to get a hold of us, look us up and shoot us an email at the office too. So that's what we're here to. We want to hear from our constituents. We want to hear from our citizens the way we can better serve.
Awesome. Senator Gallion, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Good seeing you.